deployment of army personnel in rural areas, which the opposition has mentioned in the past to say that there are army personnel that have been deployed into the rural areas. What's your response to this?
Isn't you are saying that they've refuted the allegation? Did they give you evidence of what they are saying? He who alleges must prove. We are ready to prove, as people who allege, where we have problems with certain people who are probably masquerading as the army. It could be that it's not the army, but they must be able to then smoke those people out so that they are not in the rural areas. Just yesterday in Gumunyu there are people who were masquerading to be soldiers, then saying we are going to build a school, so we want all the traditional leaders, all the chiefs, all the people to come and congregate, who then have problems. So if there are people who are tarnishing the image of our great army, our patriotic and professional army, the military, then we must be able to jointly deal with such people so that there's no abuse of traditional leaders, there's no abuse of people in the villages. People must be free to campaign. Nobody must abuse the name of the army or pretend to be the army when they are not the army. Yes, Richmond?
If you are not going to agree on the transference of the ballot papers, are you going to boycott the elections?
I told you, Richmond, that we can't boycott ourselves. We are the Zimbabweans. We are Zimbabwe. We can't boycott this election. There will be no election. This is a political crisis. Nobody has got the monopoly to say an election must go ahead if we're not agreed on that election. Because you can't go to an election alone. And you can't impose unilaterally, because the Constitution is empowering us to pursue our rights, to make sure that an election is a proper election. If they choose to have any other activity, it's not an election. And there will not be an illegitimate election in Zimbabwe. It is for your rights. It is for your rights. It is for every Zimbabwean's right to have a proper election. It's for Mnangagwa's advantage to have a stable society. There will not be any legitimacy and stability if we do not have a free and fair election. Why should we have a repetition of the past 38 years? Only because you want to remain in power. Only because you want to impose yourself on the people of Zimbabwe. We can't afford that. We must be able to be on that route back to legitimacy, where people are elected, not imposed.
If you are going to win the election, are you going to withdraw the allegations you are leveling against the ZEC?
Look, if we are going to win the election, it's not because ZEC has helped us, or it's not because the allegations have been proven to be false. It's simply because we have an overwhelming force that is going to sweep away ZEC's shenanigans, ZEC's tomfoolery, and whatever they may choose to do in tactics and antics. We are very clear. We will not apologize to anyone. We will simply apologize to the people of Zimbabwe if we have committed any offense. But so far we carry their mood, we carry their expectation, we carry their momentum, and they agree with us. I've been to the country far and wide. I've been to my Depele land, I've been to Tonga land, I've been to Manika land, I've been to my Singo land, I've been to Mashona land. People have the same language. We want a ZEC we trust. We can't trust this ZEC. This ZEC is so biased. This ZEC has a perforated opinion of what people want, and we must help them to lacerate their misfortunes.
Advocate, you represent the MDC alliance, but you speak as if you are representing all the other political parties. Is this a common position with all the other political parties whom you don't represent? I
told you that I represent the party I lead and the alliance partners whom I work with. In terms of other parties, I'm sure you can also go to their headquarters if they have any.
There will be no election. It appears as if it's a common position of all the other political parties.
Well, of course, there has been some kind of consensus building which we are still pursuing in the context of what you are saying. Yes, we have not been able to come to a common position on that, but it's being worked out so that there is unanimity. This is not an MDC alliance issue or ZANU-PF issue or any other party issue. What's the name of Ngosana's party? Upper is it party? You can't say upper. What is it? Whatever party he has to be able to be engaged. Because at the end of the day, it's about all of us. This is not a partisan affair. It's for all of us as a country. In fact, it will benefit all of us. You, myself, all of us have to benefit from this process. So yes, we'll engage. But we are saying that because we know that people understand where we are coming from. They support us, and we are privileged, we are humbled, that they have a lot of confidence in us. We will not abuse that trust. This is why we are not going to allow our people to be cheated and deceived. once more and once again, like what has been happening. President Tsvangirai, thank God, he's not with us. May his soul rest in peace. But that man suffered a lot of deceptions and cheatings at the hands of my colleagues in ZANU-PF. I will not allow those, deceptions to also be imposed. I'm a young man. I have a lot of energy, and I'm ready for anything. As you can see, being young is an advantage.
In your process of engagements, have you had an opportunity to engage Mr. Mugabe?
Well, why would I engage Mr. Mugabe, who must rest? I'm actually working on his pension. That is the only engagement that I may have with him.
I was told that you met him last week.
Well, of course, and thank you for saying that. I mean, this is the herald of nonsense. The herald has now gotten accustomed to this bad habit, and I must engage ED on that. Especially his spokesperson, Charamba. His chance to lie is legendary and encyclopedic. How do you even say that I've been to, what's this country? To Dubai. I've never been to Dubai in my whole life. My passport is there, my record is there. I went to Israel on a private visit. I went via Addis Ababa. I've never met Mugabe. And I have no intention of meeting him anytime soon. But of course, as a former president, perhaps when I become president of the country, I must respect the founding fathers. Even if I don't agree with him, I will then meet him at that appropriate time.
Can we please, for the benefit of the president, say your name and the organization, please?
Well, I know most of them.
Do you think the army will accept you as the next president?
They've already accepted me. I've been a member of parliament, and they've been saluting, not now in Chamisa, but the authority I carry. So I am not worried. They are a patriotic army. They are a professional army. I work with the army very well. In fact, I respect them. If there's one thing that moves me and tickles me, it is the honor of our people, men and boys in uniform. I respect them. They are my agenda item number one in terms of restoring their honor. What they are getting out of the kind of output they are giving in patriotism to their country is not commensurate with the kind of smart work they are giving. So I have no problem with the soldiers, and I have no issue with our army. My issue is with a political party. We are political players. They are not in this election as an army. They are not on the ballot. The army is not on the ballot. What is on the ballot is poverty represented by Mr. Mnangagwa, and that is what we want to defeat.
Mr. Chamisa, these statements...
Yes, Mgwash. Yes.
The statements you are making now, they seem to be a repetition of events from 2002. On the eve of elections, you seem to be making similar statements to sort of mean that the electorate should listen to you and then wait for a call that yes, we are now getting to an election, or we are not getting to an election because they've got challenges with either ZEC or ZANU-PF or something like that. Don't you think this is actually confusing the voters, because the voters listen to you, but at the end of the day, they now don't know whether you are going to run in this race?
I told you that I'm running and I'm winning this race. Why are you confused? The people who support us are very clear, but they also want a proper process. And we've said that we are engaging ZEC to make sure that we have a proper printing ballot process that we agree on. So we are not doing what we've done before. In the past, we have never raised issues around printing, but this is for the first time because we have reason to say so. And we are not, don't worry about our people, the Zimbabweans. They understand where we are going. They are the ones who have actually asked me to make sure that we resolve this issue.
And if all those issues you have raised are not addressed?
I told you that there will be no election. There can't be an election. Choose what to call it, but there can't be an election. Because when you have an election, there's choice. If we're not there, what are you choosing? Can you choose Mnangagwa alone? They might as well choose at some other place. Maybe at their party headquarters or some other area where they just say we are imposing him as a candidate. But it can't be an election in this country.
But don't you think that maybe you'll be putting Mnangagwa at an advantage because there are 23 candidates?
I don't know where you are creating your own question, Ngwasha. I don't know where you are getting this thing of putting Mnangagwa at an advantage. Watch the space. We will not repeat the mistakes of 2013 or any other. We mean it. Yes? Violet. Yes. Thank you.
How How do you respond to people who say that the plan was never to go to elections, that this is all choreographed, that you and ED have made a plan that you go to a GNU, and that is why you're now studying all these steps? And what is do you have a deadline for this boycott?
I'm fascinated, Prof. Mume. You know, this Chamisa, you donate him to ED, you donate him to Grace, you donate him to Robert Mugabe, you donate him. Why can't you just donate me to myself? I have no time to do shady deals or backroom things. In my whole life, I've never deceived people. I've never betrayed. I've always been loyal. I believe in transparency, openness, and to make sure that we engage. People must not mistake my openness to dialogue with anyone, even across the aisle. Yes, colleagues in Zanu are supposed to be respected as fellow Zimbabweans, because we want to lead a country with Zimbabweans from across the political divide. But I've never engaged Mnangagwa on anything. In fact, on record, I've never had a call with Mnangagwa. I've never had a discussion with Mnangagwa. I requested one, you know, after I became the president of this opposition, to say I need out of Ketes to just discuss on nation building issues and how we do business, the do's and don'ts of political, you know, gladiators who are in a competition before we go into the boxing ring. So forget about it. There's no deal. There can never be any deal. We want a free and fair election. If Mnangagwa wants to be part of us in calling for this, he's welcome.
So is there a deadline to these new developments?
Look, the deadline is today. It must be done today. If it is not done, we escalate to the next level. I gave you a multi-tier process of what we are going to pursue to make sure that this is achieved.
I'm asking, elections are in 3 weeks' time. So if all your principles are going to stand, how long is this all going to take?
You will see. We are not going to reveal all our tactics and strategies. Otherwise, this cease to be tactics and strategies. I've told you, you know the direction we are taking. And I'm sure I'm very clear. I've really tried to be as open as possible. But you know, openness does not mean nakedness. Otherwise, it ceases to be of strategic value.
Mr. Chamisa, sir, you have been accused of just banter, talking and threatening and saying this will not happen.
Accused by who?
By, in the body politic.
By who?
You have been asked. You have been saying that you want a voters' roll. This will not happen if you don't get this. But ZEC has ignored you. They've totally ignored you. In fact, they've actually accused you of being trivial. So what exactly are you going to do? Because already 30 July is coming. And
please choose who to believe. We've said our say, ZEC said their say. Choose who to believe. Thank you.
Advocate, if the opposition wins an election in Zimbabwe and elsewhere free and fair, and if the ruling party does the same, the election was rigged, what's your take with reference to your allegations about the playing field?
Are you now giving me an analysis?
No.
Where you want an opinion from me?
Reference to your...
I've told you, see, don't look at us as an opposition. Look at us as a government in waiting.
Well, but that is the ruling party and you are the opposition.
Yes. Look at us as a government in waiting. Yes. And you must know that at the moment, because we're in elections.
And if the government in waiting wins an election,
yes.
free and fair,
even it's for the people of Zimbabwe to say it was a free and fair election, or for our opposition, Mnangagwa, to say their own verdict. We have a right to say that verdict before an election and after an election. But if once you
an election where you have not complained, people
I'm running as a candidate for the first time, Richmond. I've never been a candidate before for the president. And please give me my space to win this election hands down and defeat Mr. Mnangagwa, the outgoing president. Please, just allow me that. Thank you. Do we still have questions? Richard? Mr. Chiza?
You seem to suggest there will be civil unrest if your demands are not made before the elections.
We are peace doyens. We are instruments of peace. 18 years of struggle, we have never resorted to arms of war. Not because we do not have the capacity, but because we do not have the appetite for that route. We will never ever be tempted to go the route of violence. Violence is not part of our DNA. We are doves. We believe in peace. But we can use instruments of peace to make sure that we express ourselves. And those who have in abundance, those who have instruments of violence can use instruments of violence, and we'll see what wins between light and darkness. Light always comes first best. And we will win this election. We will win in terms of our struggle. So don't worry about violence. We will not. We don't want violence. We want stability. We want consistency and legitimacy in elections. If anything, people who must be accused of inciting violence in this country are the ones who want to rig the election. People who do not agree on a simple thing. We want to write this examination, but let us agree on a syllabus. Let us agree on the invigilators. Don't impose on us a question paper that we have not prepared for. It's a simple, basic thing. Even school children would understand that this is basic consideration of values of fairness. That's what we are saying. We don't want things that are, these are not legislative issues. These are political will issues. In South Africa, you have to print the ballot with all the players. That is the case elsewhere. I know that in Kenya they have to go to court around the issues of the voters' roll and the printing of the ballot. And that's what we are insisting.
Stability, issues around stability.
Want to say something? Yeah, sorry?
You talked about stability or possible instability if your demands are not.
I said,
that's what I'm talking about.
we are in circumstances of instability at the moment because there is no agreement political. And we are saying it will continue even if we go into election, which is a sham of an election. That is the context, I said. Not that I'm going to be the ancestor or ambassador of instability. Never. If anything, we're actually holding the population to be accountable and to go through a legitimate process. We believe in elections, but free and fair elections, not sham elections. I'm sure I've done justice to, yes, last but not least. Or maybe
you are the government in waiting, and you'll be responsible for appointing a chairperson. Who and how will you do it?
Well, I suppose you must understand that there is a constitutional process that has to be followed in terms of the appointment of the ZEC process. By the way, I may want to just share with colleagues, Mr. Beatty. I was responsible for the interviews of most of the ZEC commissioners. But from a parliamentary perspective, as the chair of the Legal and Procedural Affairs. But I'm doubting now. Some of the credentials that they were showing when we were interviewing them are not manifesting in reality. They are beginning to show a huge gap between the rhetoric that they were giving us through the interviews and the practice that we are seeing. We want a free and fair election. We would want to respect our institutions, national institutions. But they have to be respected when they also respect citizens. Mind you, this is not a Chamisa issue or an MDC Alliance issue. It's a people's issue. You go in the streets, people are raising these fundamental concerns. Last, gender is important. In an engendered community is an endangered community. So we want to hear from our female journalists. Thank you. Last but not least, yeah.
My name is Sophia Makranga. I'm a freelance journalist. Mr. Chamisa, you've indicated that the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission is not a free referee, and you potentially engage the SADC and the AU to come and conduct this election. Do we potentially see a postponement of the election considering the time span that is left?
There should be no postponement of an election. There should simply be an administrative arrangement on the ballot. If the ballot is not such a big issue, why are they dragging their feet? Why are they pussyfooting? Why? But they know that that is their ticket to try and... That's why you have seen they've been holding this funny and phony opinion surveys. Where would Mnangagwa get 70% in this country? Even in his own family, he will not get a 70%. And you think that we are all going to be fooled around? That Mnangagwa will get a 70%. For what? He will be lucky to get 25%. And I've said